everybody. Welcome to Moment of Clarity. And by the way, take a second, please, to share this. Let people know the U.S. has done its best to continue to fuck over Cuba. This is from Common Dreams. Common Dreams is a good outlet, by the way. U.S. and Israel vote no as 184 nations condemn American blockade of Cuba. 184 fucking nations condemn this blockade. 184. 184 condemn this blockade, and yet the U.S. and Israel vote no on condemning the blockade because it is a U.S. blockade, right? It's a U.S.-created blockade. The UN vote on Cuba was a chance for President Biden to show global leadership, said Code Pink co-founder Medea Benjamin. He failed miserably, as he tends to do when it comes to global leadership. But yeah, this blockade on Cuba has been going on for a long time, years, right? Generations. Of sanctions against Cuba, blockades of Cuba. And, you know, America's doing their best. The American government is doing its best to destroy lives in Cuba. All because we're still butthurt over the fact that they threw off our capitalist chains and decided to do their own thing, which whether you love, you know, there's definite talk of, repression, media repression, things like that in Cuba. But that doesn't mean that we should be able to destroy their lives. And besides the fact that there's more open discussion, more open debate in Cuba than the United States, if you look at who owns our airwaves, 90% of all our corporate airwaves, you know, mainstream media airwaves are owned by tiny number of corporations, 4 or 5, and they're all giving U.S. talking points. But what we're really mad about is that they decided to have their own lives and do their own thing. And we're still furious about that. And we're still treating them like shit, trying to ruin their lives, trying to make sure they, you know, don't have medical equipment or don't have certain foods or can't get, you know, oil or whatever. And it's fucking ridiculous. Cuba's a wonderful country. I got lucky. I got to go on a Code Pink trip. That was who wrote that article that I just referenced. Medea Benjamin, co-founder of Code Pink. And Code Pink had some ability to get to take trips down to Cuba. So I got to go down there. It's fucking gorgeous country, wonderful country, wonderful people, friendly people. And here's the other thing is, well, if you ask your average American about Cuba, they think there's some sort of dastardly shit going on there because they believe all of our lies and all of our propaganda from American outlets. And so while your average American is like, oh, ew, Cuba, oh, God, they're communists or something. They're trying to get us. And your average American acts like that. But your average Cuban, if you say, I'm American or I'm from the United States, they don't give a shit. They're like, oh, great. Yeah, great. I love the United States. My cousin lives there. Like, they haven't been fed the propaganda that every American that shows up, it must be some sort of evil villain. Whereas you do have that kind of garbage given to people in the United States, that kind of propaganda. And so it's just pathetic. I mean, that so many people believe it. I mean, think about it. Who should tell you where you get your fucking cigars? Oh, you can't. Cuban cigars are illegal. Why? It's dumb. Do you realize how dumb that shit is? Oh, you can't have the cigars across the border. What the fuck's the border? I can't walk across the border with a cigar? We don't have freedom. You're kidding yourself if you think we're free. All these goddamn rules. You can't bring in someone else's cigars because it's not patriotic. They're not patriotic cigars. They're not, you know, they don't fucking sing the Star Spangled Banner that doesn't play when you light them. It's such nonsense. And yet people act like we're free in this country. Can't even get a cigar and we're free. Oh, look how free we are. Can't get Cuban rum in this country, but we're free. We're free. Fucking, it's not free at all. Read a little more from this article. For the 29th straight year, the members of the General Assembly voted overwhelmingly in favor of a resolution demanding an end to the 60-year U.S. economic blockade on Cuba. This year, 184 nations voted in favor of the resolution, while the U.S. and Israel voted against it. 3 nations, Brazil, Colombia, and Ukraine, abstained. And whose pocket are Brazil, Colombia, and Ukraine in, do you think? The ones that abstained. Critics this year noted the detrimental effects of the embargo on Cuba's ability to combat the COVID-19 pandemic. Medea Benjamin tweeted the UN vote regarding the U.S. blockade on Cuba was a chance for President, I already said that, chance for President Biden to show global leadership. He failed miserably. Whoever thought Biden was going to show global leadership? But he barely knows where he is. He's going to be the leader of the world. Right. That's really what we need is this guy who, needs a crew of people to empty his chamber pots is going to lead us around the world, around the globe. The Cuban foreign minister, Rodriguez Padilla, slammed the blockade as a massive, flagrant, and unacceptable violation of the human rights of the Cuban people and an economic war of extraterritorial scope against a small country already affected in the recent period by the economic crisis derived from the pandemic. And what this does is it makes the United States a rogue state, right? It makes us the rogue state, the state that has fucking gone haywire, the one that's fucking twirled off to the edge. It reminds me of the brain fungus. You ever watch one of those documentaries? This type of fungus that gets in insects' brains like ants, and it slowly takes over their brain, and the ant starts walking all kind of crazy, and then the other ants realize, oh, fuck, that guy's fucked up, and he starts wandering, and while they're all in their, like, steady ant lines, he's, like, wandering over here, and then they take him farther away because they're like, oh, shit, something's wrong with him, and he's going to infect all of us, and so they put him out to pasture. They put him out. They're like, let's take Crazy Steve over here where he can't hurt anyone, and they leave him away from the other ants. And then towards the end of the fungus takeover of the ant's brain, it blossoms out of his head into these like gorgeous like fungal flower things. And it truly is the most horrifying and yet gorgeous thing to watch this thing fucking come out of the thing's head and just be this beautiful blossom out of its brain. But the other ants realize like, oh, Crazy Steve is being crazy. And he's like twirling around and he's walking all weird and he's going to infect others. And so they take him away. There are other world nations are clearly thinking about that with the United States at this point. When we're the only ones, us and Israel, are the only fucking Crazy Steves that think that this Cuba blockade makes any sense whatsoever. We are now the rogue state, right? We spend fucking 10 times more on military than any other country, the largest prison state by far than any other country. We are the largest environmental destroyer of any other country. We are the rogue state. We are the Crazy Steve, and we're infecting other countries and harming them. And it's time they should probably put us out to pasture. They should probably, I don't know if you can do that with a country, but take us somewhere far out in the field and leave us there so we can't hurt anyone else. Might be the best plan of what to do next. Thanks for joining me, everybody. And if you want to become a member of and actually support this or podcast Common Censored, go to liberapay.com/LeeCamp, LIBERAPAY.com/LeeCamp. Thanks, everybody. Keep fighting.